Welcome to the Monday, November 26th edition of the Clemson Dubcast. Hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Back to the normal 2 podcasts a week schedule this week after 3 last week. It was a lot of fun. Bit of a wild night in Death Valley. A lot wilder, I guess, and more tense than most folks, actually all folks, expected going in, probably on the South Carolina side as well. All that said, though, not a ton of suspense in the second half of that game, even though the defense really played poorly, which was a big shock after what we had seen for almost all this season. The bottom line, though, 12-0, 5th straight win over South Carolina after the 5-game losing streak, 70th all-time over the Gamecocks, 100th win of the decade. That is absolutely amazing. Clemson, only the 3rd FBS program to win 100 games this decade, joining Alabama and Ohio State. Also 52 wins for Clemson's senior class. They closed their final game at Death Valley with a 52-4 record. That's amazing. And that's a lot of probably the stuff that Dabo Swinney was getting at when he went on his little rant Sunday night in his press conference to preview the ACC championship against Pittsburgh. Just pointing out that, hey, the defense caused quite a bit of concern with the way it played on Saturday. Dabo was certainly concerned. Brent Venables absolutely was after the game. But from time to time, Dabo speaks up when he feels like things may be getting a little out of kilter, maybe with the fan base. I don't want to say the spoiled word, but I think he wanted to remind everybody that things are pretty good. And we'll have a column, actually, when I finish this podcast, going to start writing, trying to write some perspective on Dabo's words that came Sunday night. So that'll be up later this morning on TigerIllustrated.com. Title sponsor of the Clemson Dubcast, Parham Smith and Archenhold Law Firm in Greenville. Very happy to have them aboard. Couldn't do it without them. Blake Smith and Brooke Archenhold, both Clemson grads, both huge fans. Forte of their firm is medical negligence. They represent patients and their family members in medical negligence actions. They also handle all sorts of other complex personal injury litigation. I can vouch for them. About 10 years ago, a family member had a pretty serious medical situation with one of the local hospitals. Went to Blake Smith, and he very quickly and authoritatively gave us some great advice, and we were very thankful for that. Parham Smith and Archenhold offers free consultations. Give them a call, 864-990-4581 or parhamlaw.com. Had a great time hanging out over at the Abernathy Boutique Hotel on Friday evening, playing little tunes, and they had that National Championship, 2016 National Championship trophy on display, so quite a few people were coming by to have their pictures taken with it. Also had a great time over in Taps Bar and Cafe. Really festive atmosphere on a Friday, on Black Friday. Everybody's excited about the Thanksgiving holiday and the upcoming game on Saturday. But during the week, during the off-season, Taps Bar and Cafe is a great place to go hang out if you want to grab a drink with some friends, some of you professors out there who want to wind down after work. Laid-back alternative to some of the more boisterous college bars in downtown Clemson. So go check them out if you already haven't. Got some really good beers on tap, including my favorite, the Hugie Street IPA. So check them out online at theabernathy.com. All right, let's get to our interview. You might have not heard the name Daniel Boyd, former sniper in the 101st Airborne, was deployed 2 times to Afghanistan, was a squad leader by the time he left there. Clemson did a great job of featuring him in one of its Military Appreciation Day montages, and he actually led the team onto the field before the Duke game. And he has spent the last couple of years serving on the football staff while also going to school at Clemson. So Military Appreciation Day, obviously a wonderful day. Clemson does it up really well, but it's not just one date on the calendar. Figured it'd be good to sit down with Daniel and hear his story. So I hope you enjoy. Here we go. Daniel Boyd, defensive student assistant with the Tigers. and also a fellow inhabitant of my neighborhood. I won't say the name of the neighborhood, but it's funny, Daniel, you got all the big-name coaches who live in Clarendon, and then I guess our neighborhood's the other side of the tracks. We have you, we have DJ Gordon, we have Zach Fulmer.
Zach Fulmer, yeah, the defensive GA, you moved in there.
Yeah, and then there's a video guy whose name I can't remember. He has a beard who lives a little farther down. I don't know if you
know
him,
that.
But,
Not yet.
Okay.
Let's figure that out.
So Clemson recently, in their fantastic social media department, made you the subject of their latest vlog, and we're actually recording this on Tuesday of South Carolina week. Dabo chose you to lead the team down the hill, carrying the flag. How cool was that?
I mean, it was an honor. Like, I don't know if you've seen the video or anything, but like, usually there's a player that carries it down, and I was just waiting to find out who that was going to be. I didn't know when he would announce it or whatever, but I was kind of wondering who it would be. And then, yeah, that Sunday, preparing for the game, that Sunday before the week started and all, that's when he told me in a staff meeting. And, yeah, it was pretty cool. So he made sure he told me ahead of time so I could build up plenty of butterflies the entire week, I guess. Yeah.
Was it just cool to be told about that, or was it emotional?
The more you thought about it, the more emotional it got. Because throughout the week, I was able, like, people are asking me, like, are you ready? Like, don't fall, and, like, all this stuff, like the typical stuff that's on the surface. But as the week goes on, it's I saw it as a different perspective, I guess, and it had a deeper meaning and than I guess it normally would. But so yeah, emotional. I would say definitely a different perspective.
So this is so funny. Before I was aware that was you running down the hill and your story, in the moment, I'm watching and I'm like,
man, he's fast.
Who is that guy with the flag? He is outrunning. He is running away from Dabo. I've never seen that.
Well, I'm just glad I didn't pull a hammy or something. But so the main thing, like I said, like that Sunday when he told me, I'm like, all right, I don't have any experience. I've gone down the hill once as this was like the Louisville game back in 2016. And I made sure I went very slow. And I have no experience, and I'm out in front. I was like, I can't get past, and I can't fall. What if I fall in front of all these people? So don't try to do anything crazy. But then I also, like, I knew it was going to be a little more hype on the hill. So I was like, I got to be disciplined and not try to do something crazy off the little hump, be modest with it. But, yeah, that was the main thing. I said, I can't let him pass me. I think somebody said last week, it was like, oh, he's definitely going to pass you. It's just, just don't fall. So I was like, oh, challenge accepted, But we got the Turkey Bowl coming up where the staff plays a flag football game on Thanksgiving. So I think I helped my draft stock there. Thomas Austin he drafted a team there. And I think I helped my draft stock there. And he saw my speed and everything. So, glad I could do it.
I went back and watched a replay of that, and for a few moments, you're just sort of looking up at that flag, that was flown in combat on board a Black Hawk helicopter, a medevac mission in Afghanistan on November 1st, 2018. So recently, what was going through your mind as you're sort of alone in your thoughts, looking up at the flag that you were carrying?
I know. Usually people, they get up there and they like get the crowd hype and everything with waving the flag around. But that didn't seem natural to me. I was trying to soak it in. I was trying to look around, make sure I was put myself in the moment. And then it was about some other guys that I'd served with over there, that I deployed with, that I was with, who were killed over there. And I just wanted to make sure that they got that spotlight too, you know. So I was just up there thinking about some of those guys, and that could have been some of the emotion there. And that's what when I was looking around, I was just making sure I was in the moment, and then I was doing it my way and made sure I wanted to recognize some of the people that I wanted to.
Let's go to the beginning of your story. Where did you grow up?
I'm from Lamar, South Carolina, so it's down there near Florence and Darlington, a little one-stoplight town. We've had some people from Lamar come through here.
Yeah. Grow up a Clemson fan?
I did. I was a Clemson fan. My grandfather was a Clemson fan. My older brother was. I'm pretty sure my dad's a Clemson fan now, but being a high school coach, they have to play the neutral game. But yeah, he's a Clemson fan.
Where is he, a high school coach?
He coached at Lamar.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. He was there for a long time. He's retired now.
And you played baseball? I
played baseball and football in high school, and then I played baseball at Florence Darlington Tech. It was their inaugural season of junior college baseball. Yeah. And
then you had an interest in military really early on?
Yeah, I did. So it was always it fit me, you know. It fit me, my personality and everything. And I always said if I wasn't playing sports, that's something I would want to do. And messed around in baseball a little bit, and then worked a lot of different jobs. And once it was clear that the baseball thing had come to an end, and I was like, all right, this time to do this. So that was in 2009, and I joined. And
then immediately you showed some proficiency at being a sniper?
It's funny because I didn't want to do that, but I just kind of did whatever they told me to do. So where I went to Fort Bliss originally, they were standing up a brigade. Like they had a brand new brigade that they were standing up, and they needed some people from the sniper section. Like bunch of brand new privates were going to Fort Bliss, and I was, we were working out with one of the guys one morning, and he was just like, yeah, we'll put you over there. But just for the time being, we'll have a tryout later on. And I made it through the tryout, and eventually, it still didn't mean anything. Eventually, they sent us to sniper school, and I passed sniper school, so that made it a little more official, I guess. But I didn't think I wanted to do it at the beginning. I was like, man, I want to go down. I want to be like down in it and kicking in doors and blah blah blah. And I'm glad that guy put me over there, and then I tried out, and that I was able to do it.
This is Army.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then what?
So we were there training for a couple of years, and finally went to Afghanistan in 2011. And then it's funny, one of the guys that was here, he was visiting. He's my best friend. I met him over there at Fort Bliss. We trained together the entire time we were in Afghanistan. His name's Michael Wagner. And when I got out in 2015, we came to a crossroads. It was like, all right, are we going to get out and go to college, or are we going to stay in, make a career of it, and try to do one of these cool guy jobs, And I got out and went and came here, and he stayed in, and he went to selection and for special forces and everything, and now he's with 10th Group. But he was with me out at the game Saturday visiting, and he knew about when I read him about the flag, where it had been like 2 weeks ago. He had known about that story that happened on that day, and we're not sure that was the same mission that it was flying on, but we're pretty confident. So it was pretty cool that we had that connection, I guess, between the flag and how it related to everything like that. But after that, I did 11 and 12 in Afghanistan with them, and then I went to Fort Campbell, 101st, and I was there for 3 years with one deployment in Afghanistan out of there as well.
And you were married when?
I got married. So we were dating well before I went to the Army. Then after I was in the Army for a year, we got married, and she's from South Carolina. She moved out there with me in El Paso, and we ended up, while I deployed, she came back home, and then when I deployed in Fort Campbell, she stayed there at Fort Campbell. Yeah.
And so y'all have 2 boys, correct? And so I guess just doing the math, you left when y'all had your first child. Is that?
So I left on my second deployment from Fort Campbell to Afghanistan, and she was about 8.5 months pregnant when I left. So, but she's a tough one. I got a good one to her. So I'm in Afghanistan for like 2 weeks, and I find out that I'm a father now. And it was a short deployment, but it was still like, it was going to be a little over 8 more months before we got back. So she's in Tennessee with all our family in South Carolina. It's her firstborn child, and her husband's gone. And she did it all on her own the entire time. She had family members coming up right after Andrew was born and all, but they didn't stay there for 8 months. They came back after a few weeks, and she did it on her own. And so it was just as much her deployment as it was mine. She probably had it tougher. I was able to miss out on 8 months of diapers. So she's an amazing woman, and she did a great job. And I came back, and it made for some pretty cool pictures because I met Andrew for the first time when he was about 8.5, 9 months old. So yeah, it made for a good story and some really good pictures.
Where was this?
This is in Tennessee. So when I got back from Afghanistan, it was like 2:30 a.m. There's this coming home party on post at Fort Campbell. Our plane lands. We walk into this hangar, and then they release us, and like all the families are there cheering and everything. And we find each other. It's like my parents and Heather and Andrew, and she's holding him. And the whole time I was over there, I told her, because every now and then we'd be able to Skype or something, with a broken internet connection. That was but I told her, I didn't want to see him. I had pictures of him and everything, but I didn't want to see him on that broken connection. I was like, the first time I see him, I wanted it to be in person, And so that was a really special moment there, and a very it was like a reality check. There's some pictures of us looking at each other, and we got the same look. We're like mine's like, all right, so now what? And then he's probably thinking I've seen pictures of you, and now you're here. So, so we got some pretty good ones.
Well, his look is maybe like, hey, can you change one of my diapers?
Yeah.
And your second son is how old?
Second son's now 3.
Okay.
And I got out in 2015. So he was born right before I got out. So he was born in Fort Campbell as well. And so that was another thing. We had a baby, a newborn, and a toddler, and we were making this huge life change from steady paycheck and everything to being a student. And she still worked. She was an online teacher throughout this whole time. So that was nice, being able to move, and she could still keep that same job and everything. And kind of just making that life change from moving into a new place, changing jobs basically, because I went from that to going to school. And it was nice having being a quick transition, but it was definitely a big one.
Okay, so you wanted to come back to school, but can you tell us about the journey, like how you got on with the football program?
So, like I said, my dad was a high school coach in Lamar, and he had a pretty successful career, and he's earned a lot of respect from a lot of people because he's done things the right way throughout his career. So that helped me tremendously. And I have my other uncle. He's at Marlboro County now, Dean Boyd, and then another uncle, which is also my dad's brother. He was a coach in South Carolina as well, Steve Boyd, who was at the time he was an athletic director at York. And so I have like all these family members that this is, it's in my blood, coaching football and everything. And a lot of them, they knew some of them from recruiting at their high schools and everything, like Coach Caldwell and Coach Brad Scott, Coach Swinney when he was a receivers coach going around and everything. And I emailed Brad Scott. I think my dad had still, those old timers, they still talk to Coach Caldwell and everything, and conversations. But there wasn't a spot, and so it's like, all right, I appreciate the opportunity and everything. And eventually, a couple months later, I got a phone call from somebody that it opened up and they were going to be able to bring me on, and I was going to be a defensive student assistant. I was like, well, that's perfect. So it was my father really being as good as he was, and just my last name gave me a huge step up. And Coach Caldwell, Coach Swinney, Coach Scott, they all stuck their neck out for me, and hopefully it's worked out.
This was 16, your first?
This was, 2016. So I was in the middle of transferring because I went to Tri-County for a year, and I transferred over in that August of 2016. So that was going to be my first semester. So my first day with football was August 1st, that camp. And I've been here ever since, yep.
And your major is?
Business management.
Okay.
Yep.
Was it something different before?
Yeah. So the whole time I was at Tri-County, and then I was transferring here, I was going to do civil engineering. So I was still in the general engineering process. And so I was going to do that, not sure if I was going to be able to do this coaching thing. And once I got over here to Clemson, and I'd already registered for those classes and everything, and they told me that I'd be able to do this, I was like, well, awesome. No way I'm going to be doing engineering and football, though, and kids. Like, I'll have to switch something up. So that was always plan B if I didn't get this internship. And once I did, I was like, all right, I'll go ahead and switch that, because I'm not smart enough to pull all that off. No way.
How hard is that juggling act when you're balancing?
It takes a good woman. Like I said, we understood what it was going to be like going into it. And I mean, she has a job too. She works full time, and she has a pretty important job at the Myers Center.
What's the Myers Center?
The Myers Center is in Greenville, and she's the director of education in Greenville. It's a preschool for kids with special needs, and they have kids from anywhere from 6 months to second graders, and they have inclusion courses too. So, I mean, it's an amazing school, and she's in charge of the education side of it there. So she has like a very big responsibility there, and then I'm always up here. And we have 2 kids, school. It definitely takes a good woman, a good support system at work, a good support system at home with family and everything. And I mean, we have times where we lacked communication and stuff, but it's understanding that and fixing it. And I mean, we have a relationship with the Lord, and just having that and being able to connect that way, I mean, it really binds everything together and holds it together.
So, for instance, on a Saturday during football season, like after the Duke game, you're done at midnight, I guess, somewhere around there. You're able to enjoy the win, and then you have to be back here at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Sunday's a long day. Monday's a long day, I guess. How much sleep are you getting during that time? And when are you studying? How do you? I'm just kind of curious about how that is all broken down.
Well, so seeing the kids and everything is the main thing. So if I had a chance, I was like, man, I really need to study for this class or have a wrestling match. If I can pull off a C and have a wrestling match with my 3 and 5-year-olds, I'm about to turn into, Bill Goldberg and go spear some 3 and 5-year-olds. But that's what I'm willing to do. And so I just want to, as long as I have that time, I will sacrifice something else to have that time with them. And my wife does a great job. Coach Swinney, this is a family atmosphere. Coach Swinney has them all. I mean, Coach Elliott, he used to have a pack and play in his office, Like, this place is awesome for that. And you don't get that anywhere in college football. And so Heather brings my kids to practice a lot. They come up here. Like, all the staff knows everybody's kids. Everybody plays with everything. It's a great atmosphere for that because they understand the grind of it all, especially during the fall. So Coach Swinney wants to make sure that we get that time with our families. And then as far as like studying and everything, my wife helps me out. Like she's a lot more studious than I am. So she helps me out with note cards, helps me study. But most of that goes down after the kids go to bed. So because of that I don't, like the coaches and stuff, the people on staff and everything, they'll stay after practice and they'll be grading practice. That's usually when I head home and help put the kids to bed and everything, and then do my classwork. If I can get it done during the day throughout some point, then that's just a bonus there.
So there's some leeway.
Oh, yeah, definitely. As an intern and an undergrad intern, there's definitely some leeway. I don't have to be here as much as some of these coaches. I mean, they're here. I mean, it's amazing how often how much goes into it and all. We're here more than players as interns. It's basically what you can handle as far as your workload with course hours and everything, and make sure you get your work done here. And then if you can stay and learn anything with this, that's bonus. So yeah.
What's the end game for you? What's your plan? When do you want to get into coaching? Do you want to pursue business?
I would love to get into coaching. I want to coach and understand that it may not happen now. Like, I didn't do the education degree, so I'm not gonna go to a public high school and be coaching there. I didn't want to do that. I want to be in athletics in some sort of way, and there's plenty of that here in Clemson, So after I graduate, if I'm able to, if one of these spots comes available within Clemson athletic department or anything, that'd be great, because we have this house, my wife has that job, and it's such a family oriented place that's basically the next step. Is I don't want to be set in a particular direction. I just want to be happy. I don't need a lot of money. I just want to do what I love to do, which is teaching, I guess, and coaching.
When are you scheduled to graduate?
December.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So you got decision time coming in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Interesting. What was your view of this program and Dabo and all that before, when you were sort of on the outside, and what is it? How much different is it now?
It's not at all what you see. I mean, it's what you see is what you get. So once I got behind the scenes here, I was like, yep. I mean, makes sense. I figured that. Figured it'd be like this. Like, yeah. What you think, how awesome it would be here and how family-oriented it is here, it is. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it's just a fun place where you enjoy working. You enjoy coming here. It's not working. It's just, I mean, you enjoy what you do here. Everybody does. And it's awesome.
Business owners out there, if you own a business that accepts credit cards, you need to listen up. Tandem Payment, based right here in the upstate, run by Clemson folks, is changing the face of payment processing, quickly becoming the most cost-effective solution for all small businesses. Tandem's program saves you up to 90% on processing charges and gives your customers what they love most, choices. This is not some crazy introductory offer. Tandem's technology allows business owners to offset their credit card processing costs by applying a small customer service charge to each sale they make. If you want to know more, visit tandempayment.com today. Former Tiger Hot Rod McDowell works over there at Tandem Payment. They handle all their business and customer service face-to-face. So give them a call, 864-672-1570. If you're tired of spending an arm and a leg on all those credit card processing fees. Who was it who informed you that you had the job here? Or internship or whatever it's called.
I'm not sure who told me. It was Zach Alley, who's a GA on defense. I got a phone call from him saying that he was given my name and said that they could bring on a student assistant. So they told him, like, give this guy a call. He'll be the student assistant. And because that was a prior meeting I had with Brad Scott. And so I'm not sure. I mean, Coach Swinney would have okayed it. And I'm assuming that they told Zach, and that's when Allie gave me a call. And he was just kind of giving me a rundown to start camp up in that August of 2016.
Have you shared your story with the team?
No, I haven't. Like, if anyone has any questions, I'll answer the questions. Like, if anyone's interested, like Coach Swinney, he gave me an opportunity. He just asked me a few questions. I just answered them last year in front of the team during Military Appreciation Week. And then this year he did the same thing during a team meeting. And I kind of asked about a certain story. So I told him about one story about one particular mission, and about this guy named Jason Edens, who I served with, and who was injured and ended up dying from his wounds that he suffered in Afghanistan. But it gave me an opportunity to talk about these guys, and like he asked me about my bracelet. So I have, which you probably see a lot of veterans or like they had these memorial bracelets that have certain names on them, and he asked me about those because he knew what it was, but he wanted to make sure that they knew. So he wanted them to hear it because he knows that you don't go around telling people. But if they ask, I'm more than willing to explain to them so I can honor them. That's why I got it. I want to be able to tell their story and who they are so you can understand how lucky we have it. That we're not in one of these third world countries, and we have a lot of amenities that we take advantage of and for granted.
Would you mind sharing Jason's story?
Yeah, so Jason was he was a mortarman when in at Fort Bliss with me, and like I said, we were there for a long time together before because they just stood the brigade up. So we had a while to train together in the mountains of El Paso before we even deployed to the mountains of Afghanistan. So that was an advantage for us, and he was a mortarman from Tennessee, And he was pretty successful. We were out in Logman province and in Afghanistan, which is kind of eastern Afghanistan. And we were out there for a few months at a COP, and it was just our little, it was basically 2 platoons out there, 2.5 platoons. And we were just working out there and doing some operations out there, and he had a successful few months there, and I mean, he saved a lot of lives and everything. And one day it was another thing that happened. We got into a little contact and everything, and he ended up getting wounded in the middle of it, and so we got the medevac coming and everything, and we're in the middle of this contact and everything, and so we get a helicopter to come in, and the helicopter comes in, loads him up, and we're letting him know that what we're about to do as far as we're about to drop some ordnance, if you will, onto some of the bad guys, right? And he hears this. I mean, he's got a head wound. He tries to sit up, and it's amazing, like, what you can deal with, I guess. But he was still aware of that, which goes to show, like, his fight, you know, and what type of person he was. But we ended up getting him out of there, and he made it to Germany, and he was alive there in Germany, and his family was able to come there, and as far as my understanding, because we were still over there, his family was able to make it there before he ended up passing. And later on, since he was a mortarman, we ended up one time like shooting off an loom round, which is at night. It's just a round that lights up in the sky, you know. And we had all signed it and everything, and got some pretty good pictures with it. And it was a pretty cool moment. But yeah, Jason Eden, he was a special dude, and knowing people like that, how they don't care about any type of spotlight. They don't care about any type of someone. They're not doing it for thank you for my services. You know, they're not doing it for that. They're doing it for the love of the country and for love of their brothers next to them, and knowing that they're not alone and willing to do that. So you end up doing a lot for each other, and it's amazing what you can get used to out there in those places. And it's kind of the story that I shared with them the other day, and a little more depth maybe.
Is he who you were thinking about when you were?
Yeah, he's one of them. Yeah, he's one of them. There's plenty of them, but Corey Garver is another one that I was with when he died in Afghanistan with 101st. I didn't know him as well as I did Jason, but there were some other ones. Sonny Zimmerman was in a different company. That company had a little bit of a rougher time over there. It's Able company in 1st at 506 in Afghanistan in 2013. They were in a rough spot, and they did an awesome job over there at what they did. And some other guys from Fort Bliss that kind of they were unable to leave some of the things there, and they brought some things back with them, and it ended up catching up to them. There's a guy named Spencer Hinton, and there was a guy named Nicholas Change. A couple other guys that were in that unit that you deployed with that died for whatever reasons. There was Kent and Philip Mosley. It's crazy. But, I mean, it makes you grateful for what you have. And it gives you a different type of perspective, I guess.
Your second deployment with the 101st, you were a squad leader by the time you left there?
Yeah, so when I got over there, I was a sniper the whole time I was at Fort Bliss. And when I got over there to 101st, like in order to advance and get promoted and everything, you need to have, it's kind of like your resume. It's an ERB. It's basically a civilian or a military version of a resume. And so I needed to broaden that, I guess. So didn't go to the sniper section. I went to the regular line, and I was a team leader at first, in charge of about 4 guys, and ended up getting promoted to squad leader, and I was a staff sergeant, and so I was in charge of about 7 or 8 guys, depending on any given time over there at that time. By the time I left Afghanistan, when we came back, I got placed as a platoon sergeant. I was charged about 40 guys, but that was mainly kind of like an interim type deal there before I got out in 2015.
What is it like adjusting to, I guess, reality of being back here, coupled with the fact that most of society here didn't even really consider it a war that was heavy in their thoughts? You know what I mean?
Like, how was it?
I'm just wondering if it was difficult. I mean, you know how hard it is over there. You know how, I mean, you lost friends, and yet it wasn't something that people here were really talking about a lot.
Yeah, I don't care. Because I know. So, I mean, yeah. I don't care about other people. Like, as long, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen it, so I'm not a big showy guy, I guess. I say that, and I'm sitting here, like, doing a podcast and stuff.
No, you're definitely not a showy guy.
But I think there's a right way and there's a wrong way to take advantage of opportunities. But hopefully I'm doing the right thing, I guess. But it didn't affect me as far as what other people thought, because I didn't care. Because I knew the truth, and I knew what we did, and I knew what other people did, and I didn't care what people thought they knew.
Yeah, maybe not necessarily what people thought as much as adjusting to a totally new normal, I guess. Yeah,
that's the toughest thing is, especially being an infantry guy. And I mean, I'm just infantry. There's these other dudes that are these special ops type stuff too, you know, and there's infantry guys that saw a lot more stuff than I did. I mean, I'm just one person with my experience, you know. There's all kind of different other people that had it way worse than me and are having it way worse than me. But from my experience, that was one of the toughest things, is like, because you're kind of, I guess, molded into this thing that you have to be. You can't be some regular dude and do some of the things that you're supposed to do as an infantryman, I guess. So you have to really hone in on some things and become something. And so being, I guess, normal here is normal to an infantry unit. That's probably the hardest thing, is being civilian normal, and not infantry normal, I guess.
Does it get any easier the longer you're?
Yeah, it all depends on your support system. Depends on who you're with, who you got to talk to. Depends on how you deal with it. You can deal with it one way, or you can let it eat at you and try to deal with it yourself. So if there's anybody out there, maybe they've had better experiences that people can use to help them out, or maybe there's someone who is struggling with it, with that transition or anything. And what has helped me is this right here. I know not everybody can come be a student assistant at Clemson, but keeping your mind occupied and having something to do, having a purpose, having keeping occupied, and then having people to go to, people to talk to, people to relate to, that do get it. Like you have your brothers, so holler at them and just talk to them, so you can get that, what I just called like the infantry norm. So you can get that instead of trying to pretend to not have it anymore, because that'll eat at you.
Did what you went through, did that better equip you to juggle class and participate in a really hard job with the football program and deal with quote unquote adversity that comes on a football field?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it helps, I'm sure. Just being a part of that type of structure, seeing the different type of leaderships in the military. I mean, it's basically the same structure here. It's just a different end goal. But the structure and your training or your practicing, your coaching or your leading, I guess. Basically coaching. So there's a lot of similarities in it, and it definitely prepared me in that. But I was already in that type of structure with having that. So I would say that already having that type of structure, being raised in it, it helped me with the military. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of carried over. So I would say it probably helped me more for the military than coming out, because I'm still doing the same type of thing.
Any words with Coach Swinney, either after the pregame or after the game, about that moment of leading the team out there?
Coming out, I guess I touched the rock, and he said, "Go get him." Like, all right. So it's like, here we go. Definitely can't fall now. Basically let me know. He's like, he's coming after me. He's going to try to pass me. So I was like, all right. I didn't stretch, but I'm good. But no, he said that, and it was a pretty funny moment right there. And easing down to the hill, I looked up. I was like, he probably thinks I'm cheating. I done got way too far down, so I stepped up a couple more steps to get a little bit closer. But he told me he'd give me a head start.
He say anything after you beat him? Not just beat him, but pulled away.
I think he probably let me get down the hill a little bit slower than he normally would. But no, I haven't seen too much footage of it. I've seen the video that they did here, and then the little clips they added to it at the end. But no, a lot of other people they've said some things to me, so it's pretty funny.
Anything we haven't talked about that you want to?
Man, you got me talking a lot more than I thought I was. So no.
Okay, well, thank you. Look, Military Appreciation Day is officially one day of a season, but it should be every day. So thank you for your service, and I know I speak for a lot of folks, and honoring the memory of the people you were thinking about when you were looking up at that flag on Saturday night. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. It was my pleasure in doing it, and I was glad to.
The only man who has ever outrun Dabo Swinney running down the hill, Daniel Boyd, everybody. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right, thank you to Daniel Boyd for sharing that story, and apologies a little for the little bit of background noise there. We were actually sitting in the lobby of the football offices last week when we taped that interview, but not too bad. Thank you to our title sponsor, Parham Smith & Archenhold Law Firm in downtown Greenville. Also, the Abernathy Boutique Hotel in Clemson, and Tandem Payment in Greenville. Thanks most of all to all of you for listening and making this part of your routine. Much appreciated. Next podcast scheduled to drop as usual on Friday morning. Everybody have a great week. Going to be a fun one in the run-up to the ACC Championship in Charlotte. Cheers, everybody.